The notification pinged on my phone at exactly 3:47 p.m. on a Thursday. I was elbow deep in debugging code for our quarterly software release when Dana's message lit up my screen. Work trip got extended. Back Sunday instead of Friday. Miss you already. Yes. I stared at those words, my coffee growing cold in my hand. Something twisted in my gut. Call it intuition, call it paranoia. But after 12 years of marriage, you learn to read between the lines. Dana Foster, my beautiful, ambitious wife who worked in corporate communications, had never once volunteered for extended work trips. Hell, she complained when meetings ran past 5. My name's Graham Foster, and I'm a senior IT project manager at TechFlow Solutions. 39 years old, decent salary, decent house in the suburbs, decent life. Or so I thought, until that text arrived like a digital sledgehammer to my comfortable existence. I minimized my code editor and opened Facebook. Dana's company, Meridian Marketing, was pretty active on social media, always posting team photos from conferences and corporate events. If there really was a work trip, they'd be plastering it all over their feeds like they always did. I scrolled through their latest posts. Team lunch on Tuesday. New client announcement on Wednesday. And then, posted just 2 hours ago, a group photo from their Phoenix leadership retreat with the caption, Day 2 of our amazing team building experience. I counted the faces in that photo 3 times. Marketing Director Sarah Kim, check. Account Manager Tom Bradley, check. Communications Specialist Janet Liu, check. Creative Director Mike Santos, check. And there, standing right next to the company VP, with his arm casually draped around someone's shoulder, was Peter Lawson, Dana's direct supervisor. Dana was nowhere to be seen in that photo. Not in the background, not cropped out on the edges, nowhere. But according to her text, she was supposed to be at this very retreat, which had apparently been extended. My hands started shaking as I screenshot the image. The timestamp showed it was posted at 1:23 p.m., over 2 hours before Dana sent her work trip extended message. I called her immediately, straight to voicemail. Hey babe, just saw the company's Facebook post from the retreat. Noticed you weren't in the group photo. Everything okay? Call me back. While I waited for her response, I did what any suspicious husband with IT skills would do. I started digging. Our phone plan allowed me to check call logs online. Dana's number showed 3 calls to Peter Lawson yesterday, each lasting over 30 minutes. She'd also exchanged 47 text messages with him in the past 2 days. 47 messages, with her boss. While supposedly on a work retreat, my phone buzzed, Dana calling back. Graham, hi, sorry, was in sessions all day. Yeah, I'm feeling a bit under the weather, so I skipped the group photo thing. You know how I hate having my picture taken when I look gross. Her voice sounded different, breathier, like she was nervous or excited. Where exactly are you staying? I asked, trying to keep my tone casual. The Marriott downtown Phoenix. Same place as always for these corporate things. Listen, I should go. We're about to start the evening session, and Peter wants everyone there on time. Peter wants, not the team needs to, or we have to. Peter wants. Okay, well, text me the hotel info so I know where you are, just in case. A pause. Too long of a pause. Of course, babe. I'll send it over later. Love you. She hung up before I could respond. I sat there staring at my phone, my mind racing. 12 years of marriage, and Dana had never once forgotten to send me hotel information when she traveled. She was obsessive about it, always texted me confirmation numbers, room details, even photos of her room so you know I'm safe. But now, suddenly, she'd send it later. I grabbed my keys and headed for the parking garage. Dana's company was only 15 minutes away, and I needed to see something with my own eyes. The Meridian Marketing Building sat in a gleaming corporate complex downtown. I parked across the street and scanned the employee lot. Dana drove a silver Honda Accord with a distinctive dent on the rear bumper from when she'd backed into our mailbox last year. There it was, 3rd row, parked next to a black BMW that I recognized as Peter Lawson's car from the company Christmas party. Both cars were there, in the employee parking lot, while Dana was supposedly in Phoenix at a work retreat that had been extended. I called Rick, my best friend since college, and the only person who'd give me straight advice without sugarcoating it. Rick, I need you to talk me down from doing something stupid. What kind of stupid are we talking about? Key someone's car stupid or burn the house down stupid? The kind where I think my wife is cheating on me with her boss. Oh, Russ. Silence on the other end. Then, shit, Graham, what happened? Oh, Russ, I told him about the text, the Facebook photo, the cars in the parking lot. Rick listened without interrupting. One of the reasons he'd been my closest friend for over 15 years. So what's your gut telling you? He finally asked. That I've been an idiot for longer than I want to admit. Then trust your gut, but be smart about it. Don't go charging in there like some jealous husband cliché. Get proof first. What kind of proof? The kind that'll hold up when you're dividing assets. That hit me like a punch to the stomach. Divorce. The word I'd been avoiding thinking about. Rick, what if I'm wrong? What if there's some explanation? Then you'll apologize and work on whatever's making you this paranoid. But Graham, in all the years I've known you, you've never been the jealous type. If your radar's going off this hard, there's probably a good reason. After hanging up with Rick, I drove home to our 2-story colonial in Westfield Heights. The house Dana and I had bought 7 years ago when we thought we'd fill it with kids. The house that now felt like a museum of a marriage that might have been over longer than I realized. I poured myself 3 fingers of bourbon and sat in my home office, staring at that Facebook photo on my laptop screen. Peter Lawson, 43, divorced, the kind of guy who wore expensive suits and drove a BMW to show everyone how successful he was. Dana had mentioned him plenty of times over the past year, always professional stuff, but now I was remembering the way her voice changed when she talked about him. The way she'd started dressing nicer for work. The way she'd suddenly become interested in staying late for important projects. My phone buzzed with a text from Dana. Hotel info, Marriott Phoenix, room 1247. Boring meetings all day tomorrow. Miss you. I immediately called the Marriott Phoenix. Hi, I'm trying to reach my wife Dana Foster in room 1247. Can you connect me? I'm sorry, sir, but we don't have anyone registered under that name. Can you check if she might be registered under her maiden name? Dana Mitchell? No, sir. No Dana Mitchell either. What about Peter Lawson? A pause. I'm sorry, but I can't provide information about our guests. Which meant Peter Lawson was registered there, just not Dana. At least not under her real name. I hung up and immediately booked a flight to Phoenix. If Dana wanted to play games, I'd play along. But I'd be playing by my rules. The red-eye flight gave me 6 hours to think. And by the time I landed in Phoenix at 5:30 a.m. local time, I had a plan. I took a cab straight to the Marriott downtown and positioned myself in the lobby with a newspaper and coffee, just another business traveler waiting for meetings to start. At 7:15 a.m., the elevator dinged and Peter Lawson stepped out, looking relaxed and satisfied. He was followed 30 seconds later by a woman in a hotel bathrobe with her hair wrapped in a towel. My wife. Dana walked right past me to the front desk, probably to extend their stay or handle checkout. She didn't see me sitting there behind my newspaper, but I saw everything. The way she moved like she owned the place, the satisfied smile on her face, the hickey on her neck that definitely hadn't been there when she left for her work trip. I waited until they both got in the elevator, together, before I approached the front desk. Excuse me, I think my business partner Peter Lawson left something in his room yesterday. Could you tell me what room he's in so I can call him? The desk clerk, a young guy who probably made minimum wage and didn't care about hotel privacy policies, glanced at his computer. Room 1247, sir. Room 1247. The exact room number Dana had texted me as her room. They were sharing a room. My wife of 12 years was sharing a hotel room with her boss while lying to me about being at a work retreat. I took photos of them together in the lobby, got video of them checking out together, and documented everything with timestamps. Then I flew back home to figure out what the hell I was going to do with the rest of my life. But first, I was going to make sure Dana's lies caught up with her in the most spectacular way possible. I got back to Boston at 2 p.m. Friday, exactly when Dana's work trip was supposed to end. Instead of going home, I drove to my sister Sam's house in Cambridge. Sam was 2 years older than me, worked as a paralegal, and had never particularly liked Dana. She'd be the perfect person to help me think through my options without letting emotion cloud my judgment. Jesus Christ, Graham, Sam said after I showed her the photos and videos from Phoenix. How long do you think this has been going on? I've been thinking about that during the flight. Remember Dana's fitness kick that started about 8 months ago? All those evening gym sessions and weekend yoga classes? Sam nodded. The ones where she never seemed to lose any weight or gain any muscle tone. Exactly. And the new wardrobe. The expensive lingerie I found in her drawer that she claimed was for confidence. The sudden interest in staying late at work for special projects. Nee, what's your plan? I want to catch them in the act. Not just hotel photos. I want undeniable proof that'll hold up in divorce court and make sure I don't get screwed financially. Sam leaned back in her chair. You know I love you, but are you sure you want to go down this road? Once you start gathering evidence for divorce, there's no going back. Sam, she lied to my face. She's been lying for months, maybe longer. She made me feel crazy for being suspicious. I can't just pretend this didn't happen. Then let's make sure you do this right. We spent the next 2 hours planning. Sam's legal experience was invaluable. She knew exactly what kind of evidence would be useful and what would just be vindictive. We decided I needed financial records, communication evidence, and proof of the affair that couldn't be disputed. The key is to document everything without doing anything illegal, Sam explained. You have legal access to joint bank accounts, joint phone plans, and anything in your shared home. Use that access wisely. I drove home around 5 p.m. Dana's car was in the driveway, and I could see lights on in the kitchen. For a moment, I almost lost my nerve. This was my wife, the woman I'd promised to love for better or worse. But then I remembered the hickey on her neck and the satisfied smile on her face as she walked through that hotel lobby. Graham, Dana called out as I walked through the front door. Perfect timing. I just got back from Phoenix and I'm making your favorite pasta. She looked radiant, glowing, well-rested in a way that suggested her work retreat had been very relaxing indeed. How was the trip? I asked, setting down my laptop bag and watching her face carefully. Oh, you know how these corporate things are. Boring presentations, team-building exercises, terrible hotel food. I'm so glad to be home. Lie after lie, delivered with the same sweet smile she'd given me on our wedding day. Did you get that project finished? The one Peter wanted everyone to work on? A brief flicker of something, surprise, panic, crossed her face before she recovered. Which project? We worked on several things. The one you mentioned on the phone. You said Peter wanted everyone there for the evening session. Right, yes. The Morrison account presentation. It went well. I nodded and headed upstairs to change clothes. But really, I wanted to check something. Dana's laptop was sitting on her dresser, still warm. She'd been using it recently. Her browser history told an interesting story. She'd been looking at apartments in the city, expensive one-bedroom places that would be perfect for a newly divorced marketing professional. She'd also been researching divorce lawyers and had bookmarked several articles about protecting assets during separation. No, my wife wasn't just cheating on me. She was planning to leave me and making sure she'd be financially secure when she did. I went back downstairs for dinner, and Dana chattered away about her fake work trip, adding details that I knew were lies. She described sessions that hadn't happened, meals she hadn't eaten, and conversations with colleagues who hadn't been there. You seem different, she said suddenly. Everything okay? Just tired. Long week at work. Well, I have good news that might cheer you up. Peter offered me a promotion. Senior Communications Manager. It would mean more travel, but also a significant raise. More travel, more opportunities to sneak around with Peter. That's great, honey. You deserve it. After dinner, Dana went upstairs to take a bath. I used the opportunity to check our joint credit card statements online. Over the past 8 months, there had been dozens of charges I didn't recognize. Expensive restaurants I'd never been to. Hotel rooms charged to our card on nights when Dana claimed to be working late. Lingerie purchases from stores I'd never heard of. The most damning evidence was from last weekend. While I'd been visiting my mother in Connecticut, Dana had charged a romantic dinner for two at Le Bernardin, a $400 meal at one of the most expensive restaurants in the city. She'd told me she was staying home with a migraine. I printed everything and put it in a folder. Then I called Rick. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me. Shoot. Have you noticed anything different about Dana lately? When we've all hung out, has she seemed off? A long pause. Graham, I didn't want to say anything because I wasn't sure, but yeah. Last month when we all went to Tommy's birthday party, she was texting someone all night. And when you went to get drinks, she took a phone call and walked outside. She was gone for like 20 minutes. Did you hear any of the conversation? Just bits and pieces. She was laughing a lot. Talking in that voice women use when they're flirting. When she came back in, she seemed, I don't know, guilty? Like she'd been caught doing something. Why didn't you tell me? Because I hoped I was wrong. And because accusing someone's wife of cheating is a friendship-ending conversation if you're not absolutely sure. Well, now I'm absolutely sure. I told Rick about Phoenix, the hotel room, the credit card charges. He listened without interrupting. and when I finished, he was quiet for a long time. "What do you need from me?" he finally asked. "Help me catch them. I want irrefutable proof before I confront her." "Count me in." Over the next week, Rick and I developed a surveillance routine. He'd follow Peter after work while I tracked Dana's movements. We used burner phones to communicate and documented everything with photos and timestamps. The pattern became clear quickly. 3 nights a week, Dana would text me that she was working late or going to the gym. Instead, she'd meet Peter at his downtown condo. They'd spend 2 to 3 hours together before she'd come home with elaborate stories about her evening. On Thursday night, I decided to get closer. I waited across the street from Peter's building until I saw Dana's car pull into the visitor parking. Then I walked into the lobby like I belonged there. The building had a modern design, with floor-to-ceiling windows. Peter's unit was on the 8th floor, and through the windows, I could see directly into his living room. I watched my wife of 12 years pour wine for another man. I watched her curl up next to him on his couch. I watched him kiss her neck in the exact spot where I'd seen that hickey in Phoenix. And I watched her respond like she'd never responded to me. Even in our best days, I took photos of everything through the window, using my phone's zoom feature to capture clear images. Then I sat in my car and waited. Dana emerged from the building at 10:30 p.m., looking disheveled and satisfied. She got in her car and drove home, probably preparing whatever story she'd tell me about her evening. I waited another 10 minutes before following her home. When I walked through our front door, she was already in her pajamas, sitting on the couch with a cup of tea. "How was your workout?" I asked. "Great. Really pushed myself tonight. I'm exhausted." She wasn't even breathing hard. "Which class did you take?" "The advanced spinning class with Jennifer. You know, the one I've been going to on Thursdays." I nodded and sat down next to her, close enough to smell Peter's cologne on her skin. "Dana, can I ask you something?" "Of course. Are you happy? In our marriage, I mean?" She turned to look at me, and for a moment, I saw something that might have been guilt in her eyes. "What kind of question is that? Of course I'm happy. Why would you ask?" "I just feel like we've been distant lately, like we're going through the motions." "Graham, every marriage goes through phases. We're fine." But we weren't fine. We were the opposite of fine. And tomorrow, I was going to start making sure she understood that. Friday morning, I made a decision that would change everything. Instead of continuing to gather evidence in secret, I decided to force the issue. I was tired of being lied to, tired of pretending everything was normal, and tired of watching my wife live a double life while treating me like an idiot. Dana was in the shower when I opened her laptop and logged into her personal email account. I'd seen her type the password dozens of times. Our wedding anniversary, because she'd always claimed that was the most important date in her life. Her inbox told the real story of our marriage. Dozens of emails from Peter, going back 10 months. The early ones were professional, but they quickly became personal, then intimate, then explicit. By March, they were planning secret weekends together. By June, they were discussing their future after Dana left me. The most recent email, sent yesterday, made my blood run cold. "Dana, I talked to my lawyer about the timeline. He says you should wait until after your first anniversary as senior communications manager before filing. That way you can claim spousal support based on your new salary. Also, we need to be more careful about the paper trail. Graham works in IT. He's probably smarter about digital evidence than we've been giving him credit for. Can't wait until this is all over and we can stop sneaking around. Love you." They weren't just having an affair. They were strategically planning to destroy my life while maximizing Dana's financial gain. I forwarded the entire email chain to my personal account, then cleared the forwarding history. By the time Dana got out of the shower, I was downstairs making coffee like nothing had happened. "I have to work late tonight," she announced, coming into the kitchen in her robe. "Big presentation on Monday that Peter wants to review." "Another late night with Peter," I said, testing her reaction. She paused, coffee mug halfway to her lips. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing. Just seems like you two have been working together a lot lately." "He's my boss, Graham. That's what bosses do. They give you work." "Right, of course." I kissed her cheek and headed to my car, but instead of going to work, I drove straight to Sam's house. "You look like hell," she said when she opened the door. I found the smoking gun. I showed her the printed emails on my phone. "They're not just having an affair, they're planning to financially destroy me." Sam read through the emails, her expression getting angrier with each message. "This is actually good news, legally speaking. This shows premeditation and conspiracy. Any judge will see this as evidence of marital misconduct. I don't want to wait for a judge. I want to confront them tonight. Graham, that's not smart. If you tip them off now, they'll destroy evidence and change their strategy. You need to be patient. I've been patient for months, while my wife screwed another man and planned to rob me blind. I'm done being patient. Sam studied my face and realized I wasn't going to be talked out of this. Okay, but if you're going to do this, we do it right. We confront them somewhere public, with witnesses, and we record everything, and I'm coming with you. Sam, you don't need to. Yes, I do. You're my little brother, and this bitch has been playing you for months. I want to see her face when she realizes she's caught. We spent the afternoon planning. I called Rick and filled him in, and he immediately volunteered to help. We decided to confront them at Meridian Marketing's office building, right as they were leaving for one of their late work sessions. At 5:30 p.m., Rick, Sam, and I positioned ourselves in the parking lot across from Dana's office. We didn't have to wait long. At 6:15, Dana and Peter walked out of the building together, laughing about something. They got into Peter's BMW, and we followed them to his condo building. This is it, I told Sam and Rick. Are you guys sure about this? Hell yes, Sam said. Let's go ruin their evening. We walked into the building lobby just as Dana and Peter were getting on the elevator. I called out to them. Dana, what a coincidence. The look on her face was worth every moment of pain I'd felt over the past week. Pure terror, followed immediately by panic, as she tried to figure out how to explain why she was in her boss's building when she was supposed to be working late at the office. Graham, what are you doing here? Peter stepped slightly in front of Dana, a protective gesture that made my anger spike. I was in the neighborhood and thought I'd surprise you at work, but they said you'd already left. Lucky I ran into you here. We were just... Peter needed to pick up some files from his apartment for the presentation. At 6:30 on a Friday night? It's an important client, Peter said, speaking for the first time. His voice was smooth and confident, like he'd practiced this conversation. Sometimes we have to put in extra hours. I'm sure you do. I pulled out my phone and showed them the photos I'd taken through Peter's window the week before. Is this part of the presentation prep? Dana's face went white. Peter's confidence evaporated instantly. Graham, I can explain. No need to explain. I think the photos are pretty self-explanatory. Sam stepped forward. Hi, Dana. Remember me? Graham's sister? The one you've been lying to at family dinners for the past 10 months? Sam, this isn't what it looks like. Really? Because it looks like you've been screwing your boss while planning to divorce my brother and steal half his assets. I pulled up the forwarded emails on my phone. Should I read some of these out loud? Or do you want to tell me about your conversation with Peter's lawyer? Peter finally found his voice. Look, Graham, this is between you and Dana. I don't think we need to... Shut up, Rick interrupted. You don't get to talk. You're the married woman's boss, who's been helping her cheat on her husband. You lost your right to have opinions about this situation. Dana was crying now, but they weren't tears of remorse. They were tears of frustration and anger at being caught. Fine, she said, her voice shaking. Yes, Peter and I are involved. Yes, I was going to ask for a divorce. But Graham, our marriage has been over for years. We're like roommates. We haven't been happy in... Don't, I said, cutting her off. Don't you dare try to make this my fault. If you were unhappy, you should have talked to me, or suggested counseling, or asked for a divorce. You don't get to cheat on me for 10 months, plan to financially destroy me, and then claim it's because our marriage was already over. What do you want? Peter asked. Money? I'll pay you whatever. I want you to understand that your lives are about to become very complicated, I said. Dana, I've already forwarded copies of all your emails to my lawyer. I've documented your affair, your lies, and your financial planning. When I file for divorce, I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of person you are. You can't do that, Dana said. Those emails are private. Sam laughed. Honey, you sent them from your personal email account on a laptop that belongs to both you and Graham. Legally, he had every right to access them. And Peter, I continued, I'm pretty sure your company has policies about supervisors having sexual relationships with their employees, especially when those relationships involve helping the employee plan to defraud their spouse. Peter's face went pale. You wouldn't try me. We left them standing in that lobby, and I felt lighter than I had in months. The confrontation hadn't gone exactly as I'd planned, but it had accomplished what I needed. They knew they were caught. They knew I had evidence, and they knew their comfortable little affair was about to become a very public disaster. But I wasn't done with them yet, not even close. Over the next 3 weeks, I systematically dismantled the life Dana and Peter had built on lies. I wasn't cruel about it. Everything I did was legal, ethical, and focused on protecting myself, rather than just hurting them. But I was thorough. First, I filed for divorce, and made sure the petition included detailed evidence of Dana's affair and financial planning. Massachusetts is a no-fault divorce state, but adultery can still affect asset division and spousal support decisions. My lawyer, recommended by Sam, was confident that Dana's documented deception would work in my favor. Second, I reported Peter's relationship with Dana to Meridian Marketing's HR department. I provided copies of emails showing that he'd used his position as her supervisor to facilitate their affair and help her plan to defraud me. The company's employee handbook was very clear about relationships between supervisors and subordinates. They were prohibited without disclosure and HR approval. Third, I protected my assets. I moved half of our joint savings into a separate account, canceled Dana's access to our credit cards, and changed the beneficiaries on my life insurance and retirement accounts. Everything I did was legal and within my rights, but it sent a clear message that I wasn't going to be the naive husband anymore. Nah, the results were swift and devastating. Meridian Marketing fired Peter within a week of my complaint. They couldn't risk the liability of a supervisor who'd helped an employee commit fraud. And they definitely couldn't keep him after the other female employees started coming forward with stories of his inappropriate behavior. Dana was transferred to a different department and stripped of her promotion. Her new boss made it clear that she was on thin ice, and any further misconduct would result in termination. Without Peter's income and connections, Dana's financial situation collapsed quickly. She'd been counting on his support during the divorce proceedings, but now he was unemployed and facing his own legal problems. The social consequences were almost as severe. Word of the affair spread through our neighborhood and social circle quickly. Dana's friends, who had helped cover for her lies, suddenly found themselves associated with the scandal. Several couples stopped inviting us to social events, and Dana's reputation in our community was destroyed. But the moment I knew my revenge was complete came 3 months after the confrontation. I was at Rick's house for a barbecue when my phone rang. Dana's number. "Graham, we need to talk. We can talk through our lawyers. Please. Just 5 minutes. I'm outside Rick's house." I looked out the window and saw Dana sitting in her car, looking smaller and more defeated than I'd ever seen her. Against Rick's advice, I went outside to talk to her. "What do you want, Dana?" "I want to apologize, and I want to ask you to stop." "Stop what?" "You know what. The HR complaints, the financial moves, telling everyone about the affair. I get it, you're angry, but you're destroying my entire life." "I'm not destroying anything. I'm just making sure people know the truth about what you did." Peter lost his job. He can't find work anywhere in the industry because word has gotten around. He's talking about moving to another state. That sounds like a Peter problem. "Graham, I made mistakes. I know that. But I never meant for things to go this far. You planned to divorce me and take half my assets while you were sleeping with another man. You lied to me for months. You made me feel crazy for being suspicious. Exactly how far did you think things would go?" Dana started crying, and for a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. I was confused. I thought I loved him. I thought you and I were over anyway. So what was the harm in... The harm was that you were married to me. The harm was that you made vows. The harm was that you chose to lie and cheat instead of being honest about your feelings. Can we try counseling? Can we try to work this out? I looked at my wife, my soon-to-be ex-wife, and realized I felt nothing. No anger, no love, no regret, just emptiness where 12 years of marriage used to be. "Dana, even if I could forgive the affair, I could never forgive the planning. You and Peter spent months plotting to destroy my life. You researched divorce lawyers, looked at apartments, figured out how to maximize your spousal support. That wasn't a mistake or a moment of weakness. That was calculated and cruel. So that's it? 12 years of marriage and you're just done? You were done 12 years ago when you decided to cheat on me. I'm just catching up." Dana drove away, and I never saw her again except in divorce court. The final hearing was 6 months later. Dana's lawyer tried to argue that she deserved spousal support and half of our assets, but the evidence of her affair and financial planning was overwhelming. The judge awarded me the house, most of our savings, and my retirement accounts. Dana got her car, her personal belongings, and a small settlement that would cover her moving expenses. As we left the courthouse, Dana's lawyer pulled me aside. Your ex-wife asked me to tell you something. She says she's sorry and she hopes you can find someone who deserves you. Tell her I said good luck with Peter. Actually, Peter moved to Seattle 3 months ago. They're not together anymore. I wasn't surprised. Relationships built on deception rarely survive when the excitement of sneaking around disappears. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I sold the house in Westfield Heights. Too many memories, too much history. I bought a smaller place closer to downtown, started dating again, and focused on rebuilding my life. Rick helped me move into the new place, and as we were setting up my home office, he asked the question I'd been expecting. Do you ever regret how you handled things with Dana? I thought about it for a moment. No. I regret that it happened at all. But I don't regret standing up for myself. She made choices, and those choices had consequences. I just made sure the consequences were appropriate. What if she'd been honest from the beginning? What if she'd asked for a divorce instead of cheating? Then we would have had an amicable divorce, split our assets fairly, and maybe stayed friends. But she didn't choose honesty. She chose deception and betrayal, so she got the consequences that come with those choices. 3 years later, I'm remarried to a wonderful woman named Jennifer, who works as a teacher. She knows the whole story about Dana and Peter, and she understands why trust is so important to me. We have a strong, honest relationship built on communication and respect. I heard through mutual friends that Dana eventually moved to Portland and works for a small marketing firm. She never remarried, and as far as I know, she never found the happiness she thought she was looking for with Peter. Peter, according to LinkedIn, works for a tech startup in Seattle. His divorce from his first wife was finalized around the same time as mine, and he seems to be doing well professionally. I don't wish either of them ill, but I don't feel sorry for them either. They made their choices, and they lived with the consequences, just like I made my choices and lived with mine. The difference is that my choices were honest, legal, and focused on protecting myself rather than hurting other people. Their choices were selfish, deceptive, and designed to benefit themselves at my expense.